This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petrinovich.
And I'm Kelly Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Hey friends, thank you so much for joining us for another week on the Level Up Podcast. We are continuing our Debrief Series, and I just have to say, Taylor, how exciting it is to get the feedback on this series, that people are loving it.
Yeah. I think anytime we do something like a little new, a little different, like just changing it up feels really fresh and exciting. And there's not a lot of times where we get to like actually talk about what we do as filmmakers on a wedding day. We spend so much time talking about building relationships and branding and Instagram and stuff. So I think it's really fun to actually like turn it back inwards and like get to the root of what we're actually doing.
Absolutely. Well, last week on the podcast, we talked about my 35-person wedding in Maui, and we gave a lot of insight on travel logistics and also just how to showcase really effectively on social media that you are doing destination work, and keeping the followers involved on your journey is so important. I think a lot of us, we rely too much on like putting something out there once and thinking that people are automatically going to adopt this new thought of our business, but we really need to continually be showing up in a highly specific way for people to like actually have it click for them on what it is that we do. I remember being so frustrated in some of these pivot years where people still like clung to the fact that like, oh yeah, so you guys just do stuff like in Orange County. And I'm like, no, like last year we did Nantucket and we did this and this. And I'm like, that's not a them problem. It's a me problem. I just wasn't effectively showing up in the way that I needed to change that narrative about my business. So if you didn't have a chance to listen to that one, go back and listen. It was just last week. But again, we're going to move things over to Taylor and talk about a really incredible Napa wedding that she shot not too long ago.
Yeah. So if you are a brand new listener to this podcast and this is the first episode you're tuning into, hello. We are so excited to have you. We are 3 episodes into a debrief series we are doing here on the podcast where Kelly and I are going through our fall 2025 weddings and just kind of like walking you through the thought processes, the approach, and some of the challenges that we faced in hopes that some of these things you may be able to transfer over and implement within your own business, or it might just start get you thinking for the future of like how you might approach things if you were to face those situations yourself in a future wedding or a future event that you go to shoot or work. So we are happy to have you. Like Kelly said, she talked about her Maui wedding last week. This week, we're talking about a wedding I did in Napa. It was a 2-day wedding where we did the welcome party on Friday and wedding day on Saturday. And it was a beautiful, beautiful event. So much color and life and just like the funnest, I know that's not a word, but the most fun, bubbly bride who I absolutely love. I actually just delivered their highlight film this morning, and this is a rare occurrence where I actually do have correspondence with the bride and her mom via email. And I'd have to read what the mom said because I just like, it makes me so happy. She said, "I'm speechless, and let me tell you that doesn't happen often. What an amazing video." The dad, and I just watched it and he had tears in his eyes, like, thank you. So it's so fun when we get feedback from clients because that's not always the case. Sometimes I'm just handing it to the planner and like never hearing from the client ever again. So it's a nice little treat. But this was a fun one where there was a lot of moving parts and logistics and challenges that I had to overcome. The primary challenge like leading up to the wedding day was working around and navigating the possibility of the florist bringing on their own content creator. I love the whole vendor team that worked on this wedding. Like the creative team is just stellar. But the florist is known for bringing on his own videographer so that he can have really fast content to turn around, which is great for weddings that don't have a videographer. And as we all know, photographers are probably nodding along as they're listening to this. Only some weddings have a videographer, right? Like that's not an always thing where every wedding does have a photographer, so it's a little different. So in cases where there's not a videographer involved, like bringing on a content creator like this is probably great, like I'm assuming. But I knew that that was the hope of this florist, and I had a few issues. And so I'm going to kind of like talk through how I navigated that to delicately steer them away from bringing somebody else on, and kind of some of my reasoning why, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I think
so
it's gonna be so good because sorry, Taylor, I kinda interrupted you, but, like, I
it's fine.
remember you saying, "I know that this one is going to be, like, a portfolio-worthy one for me, and I really wanna be sure that, like, all of the wind in my sails remains in my sails and not maybe brought over to, like, another filmmaker who's shooting the BTS of it and maybe rolling out the stuff beforehand. Because I have had that experience before. I was kind of, like, blindsided by it, and you kind of had the understanding that you knew that was probably the intention, so you kind of got ahead of it, and I feel like you just navigated it very, very gracefully. So I'm actually so excited that you're going to walk through the listeners this process because they may find themselves in a situation very similarly, and you just did it like all the right ways. So walk me through like the very first step. You realized what was kind of happening, and you got in touch with who first?
So I got in touch with the planner. Actually, I'm so lucky that she actually got in touch with me about it first. Like, hey,
Okay.
just so you know, the florist plans to bring on a videographer for behind the scenes, which the term and definition of behind the scenes is very gray area because it's not actually behind the scenes. It's just like a content, like a reel. Like it wouldn't be like them actually doing the install, which would actually be a different story in my opinion. Um, anyway, that was brought to my attention, and so it actually did give me the opportunity to like engage in conversation and talk through some of my hangups with it essentially. So basically, the way I looked at it was the purpose for another videographer for quote unquote behind the scenes being brought on would be to get really, really fast content out there like the next morning, right? The wedding's on a Saturday. They wanted it up by like 6 or 7 a.m. Sunday morning. So kind of to your point, Kelly, like it would have taken the absolute wind out of my sails. Like this is a gorgeous wedding, like really amazing build out, again, gonna go in my portfolio. And it was one where I did want the credit for it, as like I should get, honestly. Like it's my wedding that I booked. It should be tied to my brand and not to another videographer's brand just because they were brought on to do free work, essentially. So I said to the planner, basically like, actually, no, I'd be happy to do all of that for you. I'm a very, very fast editor and I can do everything that this other person can do just as well. And so I would actually prefer to keep that in-house. And she gave me some pushback because she didn't see my reasoning why at first. She was like, are you sure? Like, it's so much to ask of you, like so much work. And we kind of did that back and forth a few times, which she's so sweet. Like she was looking out for me, like not wanting me to feel like overwhelmed and like bogged down with work. That wasn't something that I had signed on to do initially. And I ended up getting really real with the planner and being like, hey, so here's why. Like, I want my brand to be tied to this wedding. And I think I might have used the phrase, like, I don't want it, like, the wind to be taken out of my sails. Like, if somebody beats me to posting to it, and it will actually be, I use the phrase damaging to my brand. And so I think that, like, clicked and she was like, oh, okay, of course. Yes. Then I'm going to have a conversation with the florist and see if we can kind of change some of these plans, which she did. She totally went to bat for me. She advocated for me. And they decided to not bring on an additional videographer to do quote unquote behind the scenes and like to roll out content before me. So I secured that for myself. The planner then did come back to me and said, like, well, is it possible for myself, meaning the planner, and the florist to split the cost of bringing on a third person to your team to make sure we have the coverage that we need? And I said, we could absolutely bring on a third person. However, like I'll cover that cost. Like I'll eat the cost. You did something really nice for me. Like I'm happy to like bring on a third person to make sure everything is covered the way it needs to be covered. End of story. So I think it's just a testament to like having the courage to stand up for yourself, but knowing the why behind it. I think I stood on really solid ground as to like my reasonings as to why I wasn't comfortable with the previously arranged situation. And I offered a solution, meaning like I was going to fill that role. I didn't just like say you can't, but then didn't offer a solution instead. And I didn't just say no without offering like a legitimate small list of reasons why that she could understand like why it would be bad. So just have those things if you're kind of navigating the situation or you find yourself in something similar, like just really logically looking at it outside of emotion and like understanding the whys and then having the courage to like say something.
That's so great. That's great. And I feel like I think that's very generous of you to say like, I'll, you know, I'll just cover the cost of the third. And that only also just like benefits you too. You probably had like a dedicated drone operator then at that
Hmm.
point, and you had like some other things that's going to build into this portfolio wedding that you had already recognized was going to be one living on your website. And you wanted to understand that you wanted great coverage of that, high production value of that one too. So just all really smart business moves, Taylor. Great job.
Thanks. Yeah, it was definitely something in my last debrief episode I was talking about like being really nervous leading up to the wedding day and this was something that I was really nervous about too, like for different reasons obviously, but once we took care of it I felt so much better. And this was actually like exactly 1 week after my huge 3-day Tahoe wedding. So there wasn't a lot of rest in between. It was just like go, go, go. So yeah, it was kind of wild. This is another one where I did bring in like an out of area second shooter. I flew somebody in Thursday morning, which turned out to be great. Definitely, kind of like we mentioned, always recommend like if you have a big wedding, you can already foresee that it's going to be portfolio worthy, like making sure you're stacking your team to where you're going to get the best content. And I used so much of her footage. Like half of the film is her. Like it's half me, half her, and it was well worth the cost. Like I do think that that's a mistake for a lot of like newbie and intermediate photographers and filmmakers is getting stuck in the trap of feeling like a second shooter is just there to fill like a contractual obligation on the wedding day and not feeling like you can really utilize their content in the full final gallery, in the film, in your Instagram content. Like there's a lot of chatter, even I've had conversations within our mastermind, like, are we
Yeah.
allowed to use our second shooter stuff on Instagram? And the answer is yes, of course, it's your content.
Of course. Yes. I was just going to bring up, we are now almost three, no, we'll be, once this airs, we'll be 3 weeks into our mastermind program for the fall. And there has just been such amazing things happening within that mastermind. But recently, actually, just today at the time of recording, someone had asked, like, what is it that we're looking for in a second shooter? And Taylor, you had a great response for that. And it was like, I'm looking for someone who is at the same level as me, if not better. And if something were to happen, that they could literally fill in and shoot the wedding as if it were me, and there would be no like detriment to the quality of work.
Yeah, that's always the goal, 100% of the time. And then bringing on a third really is like a safety net, like whenever possible as well. I know that the budget's not always there, or logistically it can be challenging, but whenever you can, it like really makes all the difference. Um, so, kind of walking through the flow of the day, um, where do we want to start?
Well, first, Friday. So this was in
Mhm.
Napa. So for those who are newer to the podcast or not really familiar, Napa and Tahoe are Taylor's two primary markets, and they're about an hour to 2 hours away from her, depending on where in Napa it is, or where in Tahoe it is. And so when you're doing 2 days, are you driving back and forth, or are you just staying at a hotel nearby?
Yeah, we stay at a hotel. So we stayed Friday night and Saturday night, which was great because I mean, photographers, you have it a little easier. You have less gear. But on the video side, we have a lot more things to charge, a lot more like files. Like the file sizes are larger, it takes longer to back up files, things like that. So honestly, just cutting out additional drive time in between events allows for like a more relaxed charging and doing all of that, which is really great. And then it also on the back end, like staying Saturday night allowed me to like wake up bright and early with my coffee. And I got a teaser out within like 2 hours of waking up. I want to say I delivered it by like 9 a.m. on Sunday, which again, like if I was home in my own house, like with all the kids and the chaos, like I probably wouldn't have gotten to it. So I do really like a Sunday morning in a hotel where I can just like turn that out really quickly.
Oh, that's
Um,
great. I feel like usually you would drive right home, but no, not on this one.
Not on this one because I was timing leaving the hotel with dropping my second shooter off at the airport. So
Yeah.
we had some time to kill.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool. So you got in Friday. What was the coverage like on Friday?
It was, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 hours at a welcome party, just at a winery. It was really beautiful. The bride and the groom gave a simple little welcome toast. So that was like the extent of the audio. Um, it's pretty common for videographers out there for there not to be like a proper PA system at rehearsal dinner or welcome parties. And so using the little Sony recorder in a mic sleeve can come in real handy. And that's actually what I used in the final film as well as that audio source. So that was great. We actually did chat with the planner on site, which not normally is something that you would want to do. But we bumped toasts up to before sunset. It was supposed to be after sunset. But looking at the space once we were like in the space physically, there wasn't going to be enough room for lights. And
Yeah.
so there it was just going to be like people knocking it over. Honestly, it was a really tight space. So we moved it up a little bit to be before the sunset, which ultimately was the right move. So again, kind of like if you do see like a logistical problem, like you can say something. If it's going to be like a detriment to the event and like what you're capturing. But yeah, it was great. There was like a fast fire or like a wood fire pizza like vendor on site, a little like gelato Vespa, which is really cute. The bride had great fashion, which made it really fun to shoot, very colorful. So yeah, and I want to say we were done by like 8 o'clock, which is perfect.
I also just want to bring up something really cool that Taylor and I are really proud of ourselves is that you got to work with one of our previous mastermind students.
Actually, it was a lot of mastermind students. So my second shooter was a past mastermind student also. But then the photographers were mastermind students like 2 years ago. It was Willow and Ben. They're amazing. They're based in the Napa market as well. And it was a very fun, like full circle moment to like go from like mentor. They scaled their business, caught up, and then now like working an event with them alongside them. It was really fun.
That's so amazing. Great job. I'm so proud of them. And that's so cool to like see that they've made amazing changes in their business in 2 years. And now they get to work alongside like weddings that we do. So that's really cool. Okay. So
Yeah.
then Saturday, how is that looking? And are you like delivering a teaser from Friday on this one or no?
I did. Yeah. So I think looking back, it's been like a month and a half. So my memory's a little fuzzy, but Saturday morning I did deliver a Friday teaser. I did. And I posted it to my stories and everything. Like, so this was an interesting wedding. So we talk a lot about like the etiquette of delivery and posting and like how that all looks. So this wedding, obviously, like with it, them almost bringing on like an additional like behind the scenes person who was going to get content out really fast. This bride is very like social media forward. Like she loves it. Like she loves Instagram. And I actually got prior approval to go ahead and just like post away without any like sending it to the client for approval ahead of time. The bride basically told the planner like if I wake up and like I just see my wedding everywhere, like it'll make me so happy. And so I just I did just post and tagged her. And I think it does build a lot of excitement if you are able to or in a position where you are shooting like a Thursday or a Friday and then into Saturday for them to see your content before the wedding day. I feel like it instills like a lot of confidence, a lot of excitement, and a lot of like just positivity around you being there. And then if they share with their friends, they share with their family, then I tend to feel like a more welcomed presence like on the wedding day when I'm able to get them content ahead of time. Um, so yeah, that was fun. I had a third shooter drive in. I want to say it was like a 3 hour drive for him. But his primary roles and responsibilities were drone and a lot of gear. So that is something I usually have my third shooters do so that the primary and the secondary can just like shoot. So
Mhm.
third shooter is a lot of tripods, a lot of audio, and then a lot of droning, which turned out to be a big help.
Yeah. What were maybe some unexpected challenges to this wedding day? Anything, or was it a smooth day?
Um, there were some interesting things that we navigated through. Um, One thing I love about working with this florist is they come with a huge team, so they're very, very fast and like efficient. Like, have you ever been at a wedding where it's on the timeline for you to shoot the ceremony space, and like the florist isn't even done setting up like the aisle arrangements, or like there's still like twigs and leaves everywhere they haven't cleaned up yet. Like this is the opposite of how this florist works. Like this one is so efficient and I love it, but that just meant that the ceremony space was set up like 3 hours before it needed to be, and it was hot. It was September, right? And so what they did, which was brilliant, was they brought those like pop-up canopies, right? Like that you'll see
Mhm.
at like baseball games or soccer games or on the beach or whatever. So they had like a bunch of those like all around along the aisle, to keep the aisle arrangements in the shade so they don't wilt, obviously. But we were walking on our way to the bride's suite and we saw it was ready to shoot. Where this timeline was going to be a little tight, and we weren't going to be able to shoot the ceremony space without guests in it. Like it just wasn't going to work out. So we actually decided on the spot. I was with the photographer and my first and like my second and third shooters, and we all worked together and moved all the canopies out of the way, shot the space, and then put them back. So
Yeah.
that was kind of like a fun, like in the moment, like seeing like the way things were laid out and what we needed to do in order to like get the shots, and we just made it happen, which worked out. I'm really glad we ended up doing that actually.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And I think that it's something that for those who are operating in higher levels of the market, there's just another layer of production that's there. And sometimes it just means that you have to be the one who's the problem solver in the moment and really like make it happen for yourself, almost like you're like self advocating. Um, like without anyone really knowing of like, I'm seeing this as a problem. I don't want it to be a problem. Ooh, here's an opportunity. Let me go and make this happen for myself rather than just like feeling like you just have to like stick to a rigid timeline. Not that like when what we're not saying is like you get a timeline from a planner and like you just don't listen to it. No, it's not that at all. It's finding small gaps where you can like shave time off in order to make time for the areas that feel tighter. So that's so smart. I mean, Paul and I do that as well when we kind of see like we're mapping out the timeline beforehand and we can see where things are a little bit tight. And instead of bogging down the planner and asking them, because, as filmmakers, we don't get the timeline, we don't get our hands on the timeline as soon as the photographer does or the planner, obviously. But we can just kind of advocate for ourselves on, hey, if we show up 30 minutes early, let's get all of the drone stuff done of the venue so that we're not having to do that when we should be capturing cocktail hour without guests in it, things like that. That's like a really big difference, I think, from those operating in the mainstream market versus higher levels in the market is that you make it happen for yourself so that it serves the client better, it serves the whole creative team better, and then it serves you better also. So that's great.
Yeah, 100%. Um, There were a few other things that like were just kind of like it was nobody's fault. Obviously, these are live events and things happen, but it is like really important to be paying attention to things, honestly. So Napa is known for getting extremely windy around dinner time. Like it happens. And at this venue, one of the reception spaces, which is the one that this wedding chose to go with, is on the top of a hill, which of course, on a hill, like the wind is going to be even worse. And so actually like a gust of wind blew down a bar back, and all the glassware like shattered.
Oh
And
no.
yeah, and like they were it was like custom bar backs, like it was all painted to be like the color palette and everything. And so they had to extend cocktail hour by like 45 minutes to like reset, like clean up, repaint some areas on the bar back, and then try to get it all looking nice and like safe for people to walk by. Um, so that kind of like was a little interesting thing. Some of the time that we were going to use to shoot the reception space, like obviously there's people doing damage control, cleaning up like this wind disaster. And so that was something that we had to overcome. Is like we wanted to do a lot of drone of the space. Like obviously those are wide shots and like it has to be a completely clear space for it to look good. So that was interesting. So um the time was already going to be tight leading up to the time where we were slotted to shoot the reception space. So I actually approached the timeline a little different than I would normally do. So for the ceremony, there's three of us, which is obviously really handy. For the ceremony, I'm up front. I have my second shooter or my third shooter on a gimbal from behind, and actually had my second shooter drone the processional and hang out for like just a few minutes after the processional. And then I had instructed her to actually go up to the reception space and shoot like all the tight detail stuff during the ceremony because, again, like the timeline was really tight and I wasn't confident we were going to be able to cover cocktail hour, like the portraits that were to take place after ceremony and the reception space. So like we really had to divide and conquer, and I trusted her to shoot the details really well. And so I sent her, and so she spent the entire ceremony actually shooting details, which was ended up in hindsight because of this like bar back disaster, like came in such handy because we had all that footage to fall back on, which was really great. Um, and so I don't know, just kind of like we were creative with how we allocated the team throughout the day based on the timeline. I mentioned in my last debrief episode 2 weeks ago that something that I do the day or two before a wedding is I paste all of the like photo video specific items on the timeline into a notes app, and I assign everybody like time stamped like where they're going to be, what they're shooting on, what their responsibilities are. And so this is one of those things where for those of you who don't look at the timeline until the morning of a wedding, like you wouldn't probably know that this was the best course of action or like have the idea to come up with this allocation of the team. So just like another reminder to always be actually reading the timeline, actually imagining yourself working through the day and like feel like, is there enough time? Like, how far away are different parts of the venue? Like, it is helpful when you've shot at a venue before and you can kind of like understand how long it's going to take to walk from different place or take a golf cart or whatever. But also to like not be afraid to get creative and like how you are dispersing as a team and what people's strengths are, right? So I knew that the second shooter is really, really great at details and I could trust her to do that. I didn't know if my third shooter could, right? So I don't know. A first and a third shooting ceremony and sending a second off, I feel like is a little unorthodox, but it worked out to the best.
No, totally. Yeah. I feel like I see a lot of photographers sending their seconds to go and shoot like cocktail hours or like escort displays during ceremony. Like they'll send them off, and then just one will kind of capture the ceremony once the processional has happened and they've gotten their wides, or maybe they've gotten their drone shot and all of that. And then there's just kind of that remaining maybe 10 to 15 minutes of the ceremony where the second can go and grab those things so that you're not rushing over and being like, oh no, like guests already grabbed things from the escort display and now you're kind of like out of luck. So just things to like preemptively take control over. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that this is like something that triggers a lot of opinions. And for a while, I felt like drone was like crazy overused. Like I was anytime a film opened with a drone shot, I was like, oh, this is so boring. But I'm like really like re-leaning into like lots of drone stuff. To me, like a completed film or even something on Instagram, like it does catch my eye the more drone that's in it if the location like lends itself to that, that medium. But and so we droned a ton,
Hmm.
especially like during the reception. Like we droned grand entrances, we droned all the dances, we droned the dance floor, and like the band. And I feel like I love how the film turned out, like interweaving all of that into the film. It just, I don't know, to me, it makes it feel like a little richer.
Yeah, it does. And then there's just once you start to scale in the industry, and you may not see it now, the use of drone, but I think that's important to kind of like start to implement now so that you're doing things that are really just industry standard in higher levels of the market. We were doing one of our mastermind calls, and I was telling our mastermind students, about drone, and a photographer in there was like, "Wait, I thought drone was just a video thing. Like photographers are using drone too?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it's actually like a great way too, just to automatically up level your portfolio in a different way. This is like also a side note, but like I had a call with one of our mastermind students, and she was saying like, oh, like I don't know, like I don't think I would use drone, or I didn't use drone for that one because it just kind of had like house quality rentals and like chairs. And I'm like, That would actually be like a great opportunity to use drone because it's like you're weaving in, yes, maybe a lower level rental, but you're bringing in a higher production like shot. And I feel like it like balances out to be something better than it could be. And then you're not just like on the ground shooting, the house quality rentals. You're showing it from a bird's eye view, which I think that can be, it's a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, oh, it disguises imperfections. It's kind of like if you're gonna shoot a wide of a reception space and like there's water in the glasses, like that's more forgivable than like a tight shot of a table with water in a glass or like the butter dishes or like whatever, pick your poison. A wide shot is always like easier to hide because people aren't looking quite as closely.
I
Um,
bet some people are listening being like, what? Water in the glasses is not good. This is just like one of the things that we walk through when we teach all of our students inside Mastermind of like, what is a completed tablescape and what to look for. And a lot of people don't realize that they're making some very crucial mistakes of when they're shooting the tables and all that stuff. So just something to note, water in the glasses. It took me a long time to realize that that was something that wasn't enjoyed by from planners when they look at that.
Yeah, planners, I mean, clients probably don't care that much, but planners really, really do care. And when they're considering a vendor team, especially on the photo video side, who are going to showcase their work all the hard work that they put into a wedding, they want it captured in the way that they initially imagined and planned for. And so if you miss the mark just because you didn't know, they're going to be less likely to hire you because they're looking for these things, right? So it's important for us to adopt that mindset, especially when we are wanting to work with more planners more often. And quick little plug, we have an elevated shot list in our shop, the levelupcode.com/shop, where it kind of walks through how to quote unquote like elevate the space, and avoiding things like butter dishes and water glasses at a reception space is just one of the very one of the many things that we would recommend you be cognizant of on a wedding day. So go grab that if you want to uncover the rest of the things that we would recommend when it comes to that. But I'm trying to think of other kind of like notable things. It was a bummer. The bride's dress ripped. Like her bigger dress that she wanted to wear more of the night, and so she changed into her second look before their first dance, which I ended up like I loved. I thought it looked like really beautiful and like really cool, but I think that may have been a bummer for her, which was like sad to know because she was just like the sweetest, and I like wanted her day to like go off without a hitch, and so like on a personal level, I was like that's a bummer. Um, and I'm trying to think during the reception, the groom got on stage and like performed like a 90s, like I don't know what you would even call it, like maybe like a punky rocky song. And then the bride got on stage with him and they like sung it together, which was really cute. That was a surprise. And so that was one of the things that wasn't listed in the timeline, but the planner was sure to like make us aware that it was happening. So we like knew what to look out for. So again, honestly, just like communication, being open, actually reading the timeline, actually paying attention, like goes a long way in like making sure everyone's in their places when things are happening because the wedding day, like there's no do-overs. Like you can't get those moments back. Looking back on a wedding I shot like maybe in 2017, 2018, I'm like baby videographer, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I remember before the wedding day, I forgot to format my cards, which like rookie mistake, right? And so I shot all of the bride prep on a card and it filled up and I changed around like the cameras that I was using for the ceremony. So I wasn't like using the normal setup that I normally would. And so when I went to start filming the ceremony or like hit record, it said card full. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, I just forgot to format the card for my last wedding. And so I formatted it and I totally formatted all of the bride prep.
Oh no, that is like a nightmare. I am gonna have a
Yeah.
nightmare about that tonight.
Yeah, and there's no getting that back, right? And so like knowing that like making mistakes in the early days, putting in your dues, putting in the years of work, like getting the experience to where now you can anticipate that you have to send your second shooter to go shoot reception details because the timeline like is not going to allow for that. Like there's a lot that goes on between like in the span of time between being like the first version of a videographer and the second. And it's just keeping your eyes open, aware, and like learning from others. I don't know. I feel like compelled to tell that story just because, I don't know. We've all been there. We've all like made big mistakes like that. Or maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I've heard lots of mistakes made like that too. If I didn't have a very meticulous Paul, hashtag everybody needs a Paul, then that may have happened to me as well. But he's pretty crazy about his workflows after the wedding day. So yeah.
Everyone needs a Paul, indeed, guys. If you are not like, if you're new to the podcast, Paul is Kelly's husband. He does like all
Yeah.
their like gear charging things, like really. And our new thing, can I tell them what our new text thing is?
Yes, I'm obsessed.
So our new thing is oh Paul, and then like bell, what do you call that, like the ding 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 bell that would be on like a bellhop's
Like a
desk.
reception bell almost,
Yeah.
like we're at the receptionist's desk.
Then that emoji.
We're right now deep into planning our league holiday party, which is going to be
This coming weekend
actually
when this
this
goes live.
weekend. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, so this weekend is our first annual league holiday party. Actually, Taylor, for those who aren't familiar with league, what is league?
League is our online networking community where our goal is to help you cultivate the skills and the knowledge necessary in order to like successfully network within the wedding industry to level up your business. And it's also a place for connection where you don't have to physically be in the room to quote unquote be in the room, because you can do a lot of connection within the community. It's hosted online. There's an app. There's like private messages. There's like, kind of like a Facebook group where you can post in there and like ask questions or talk about different things. And we do 2 meetings every single month. One is a cultivate session where we kind of equip members with the information or new knowledge that may be kind of like going through the industry that you need in order to level up your business and connect better with like-minded vendors to hopefully scale your business and get better bookings. And then we do one connection session every month as well. That's really aimed to do just that, connect members with one another. And we're starting to do a lot of breakout sessions now where we're having planners host breakout sessions. So if you are somewhere in the country and we have a planner located in your neck of the woods and they're hosting a breakout session, it's a great way to kind of get in that digital room with them and to get some FaceTime and chat. So we love League. It's brand new, something we just launched in July. And it's something that we're just getting started with. But although it lives mostly online, we will be doing some in-person stuff as well, starting with this holiday party. So we're really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be in Orange County, and bringing it back to, oh, Paul. There's so many things that we've been working on where it's like, okay, cool. We need a bartender. Oh, Paul. It's like, oh, and we also need someone to go and pick up the late night snacks to bring back for all the guests. Oh, Paul. So like he's just the bell is going to be
Ding, ding,
broken
ding.
soon because we are ding, 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 dinging Paul all the time. Bless his heart. Oh my goodness. Well, it's going to be so much fun. And this was such a good debrief. And next week, we're going to continue the series. And it's going to be back now spotlighting a wedding that I did not too long ago. And it's actually the 4th daughter in a family that we have been working with for 11 years. So it was a very special wedding. And I'm excited to walk you guys through that one that we did together. And we look forward to continuing the series on from there too.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.